What's up, guys? Welcome to Bold Voices. I'm Angela Belcamino. So excited to have you here. So excited to have these incredible guests here. Please, please, please share, repost the stream, and interact with us in the chat, in the comments. Personal stories are so welcome. Thank you guys so much, Adam Coleman, Jay, Hannah, for being here tonight. We are talking love, dating, relationships, inspired by Adam's recent New York Post article. And we have Adam here to speak to it. The article is "The Internet is Toxic to Men and Women Looking for Love." So yeah, chat with us. Like I said, the realer, the better. We want your personal stories, your experiences, weigh in, questions. We've got Adam here. He is a wealth of knowledge. There are so many nuggets, gems in here. I loved the article so much. Yeah. Do you want to speak a little bit to sort of the inspiration, what sort of compelled and drew you to write this article?
I don't think it was just one thing. It's just like a reoccurring situation of just being on the internet. Everyone has everything bad to say about the opposite sex, and especially when it comes to relationship dynamics. But not many people have anything good to say, because clearly there are people who are in happy relationships where 99% of the time things are good, happily married, long-term relationships. How come we don't hear their stories? Like one of my favorite tweets I did was talking about being happily married to my wife and basically encouraging others to share their stories. And just, happily married 10 years, happily married 40 years, happily married, like you just started hearing, and then they would say like how they met. And most of them were in person. They met through a friend. They worked together. It was some sort of in-person interaction. That's how they ran into each other. Not as many people met online who were at least posting about it. So it was very anecdotal. But I just thought that was interesting. But like the general thing, why people are so nihilistic when it comes to modern relationships, part of it is we live very individualistically. Our families are very spread out. We up and move to separate cities. We're constantly starting all over. Our pool of people that we date has expanded. We'll date people 30 minutes away, 40 minutes away. So where we're constantly putting ourselves is in a position where we're dating strangers. And when you date a stranger, you're starting over trying to understand who this person is. And let's say, presuming you're someone who wants a long-term relationship. So you have to know that person's character, know if they're being honest, know if that's actually their real name, if that's their real age. Like you have to learn all
what they really look like.
What they really look like. You have to learn all these things. And let's say you do have a date with them. And that first date, you have to be pretty confident that this person is being truthful, relatively so, just to even continue. And the problem with dating strangers is that you're going to swing and miss a lot because you're starting over. You're going to be a little bit cautious. They might say something makes you uncomfortable. You don't know their intentions, so you're err on the side of caution. I'm not going to talk to that guy anymore, or not to talk to that woman anymore. There's no social repercussions for if that person treats you negatively or ghosts you. No one knows that person, so it doesn't even matter. Whereas I started dating my wife because I knew her family, and so there's a social repercussion if I was to mistreat her in any sort of way. So that would prevent, if I didn't want to date her anymore, I wouldn't ghost her. I would have that conversation with her. It would be uncomfortable, but you would have to do it because there's a negative ramification by ghosting her, for example. So you have all these different areas. And actually, and I say this as a guy, I'm I'm very in tune and understanding of why women are very, very cautious when it comes to dating men, especially men they do not know. So any like small thing that seems off, I don't blame them for like, running away from that guy and to not choosing to give him some grace, or maybe I misunderstood that because you're the weaker sex. That guy could be dangerous. That could you don't know what you're stepping into. Um, so, when you have this as your scenario of trying to date strangers, you're going to you're going to swing and miss a lot. You're going to run into some people where you have a good first date, good second date, and they fall off the face of the planet. Like you're going to have all these. It's going to be constantly disappointing. So I don't blame people for being relatively nihilistic about the opposite sex or even dating, because this is the reality of the online dating world. And that's just when you do get a date. Nevertheless, the whole point of women have way too many options and it's overwhelming for women. The guys just pick every woman and hope that a couple of them selects them back. Um, Everything is all out of whack. And so it could be very depressing, even just getting to the selection part. Um, you may go on. I've seen this. You go on a good first date, second date, and they disappear. And I know that not necessarily they're disappearing because of me, but because they've also been dating two or three other guys to see which one is the better of the option. Like that. This is the reality that we're facing. So it's very upsetting for all of the people above. And it doesn't matter if you're an ugly guy, ugly woman, good looking woman. We're all facing some sort of challenge as far as finding, a good long term relationship.
Yeah, that was really interesting, about the dating strangers piece. And you just spoke to that, but the point of like having no one to vouch for you, and no repercussions for how you treat that person, was
Right.
really interesting.
Yeah, and especially the vouching. I use my wife as an example. When we started dating, and she started developing feelings for me, she went to her family and was like, "I'm starting to have feelings for him. So if there's something wrong with him, you need to tell me now." And they didn't have anything negative to say about me. Um, so not having that, where if, you used to hear the phrase, "Are they from a good family?" Like that means that people know who they are. Are they? Sometimes the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So like, is their family crazy? Are they a bunch of criminals, or is this guy a good guy, comes from a good home? These are ways that people are trying to understand, um, trying to at least get an idea if this is someone that you should approach. But not having people in your circle know who that person is, you're on your own, and that's hard. It's very hard to assess human beings, and nevertheless assess them in a 2 hour date.
Hmm.
Um, in a 2 hour date for that first date, you're just trying to figure out if that person's safe. Um, Nevertheless, if that person's going to be your future husband or wife. So it's very difficult to start from zero in the
Yeah.
very beginning. For my
Yeah.
wife, when we did finally have our date, like she was comfortable around me because she didn't have to worry, like I'm not some serial killer, I'm not some dangerous person. So guard was lowered from the very
Right.
beginning.
Essentially references, almost like a job, like,
Exactly.
some personal references that can, yeah, I mean, it's a good point. And honestly, like, I had mentioned this recently, like dating or going out when I was younger, you didn't think about, it's crazy. I'm just glad nothing worse happened to me. Like safety, I don't know, the older I get too, like the more concerned with it I am. Like, oh, how did I in the past, like, make these decisions that could have been, catastrophic? So yeah, it's a really good point in terms of safety. And yeah, I mean, it's like we want to believe that people are good human beings, right? And are going to like do the right thing. But unfortunately, we see a lot that that's not the case. And as you mentioned in the article, the more heartbreak we suffer, the more bad experiences we have, the more discouraged and skeptical people get.
Yeah. And the more vulnerable we are to propaganda that paints a picture of the opposite sex as being whatever negative that they're trying to paint them. So if you're a guy who's unsuccessful with women, oh, listen, man, it's because you're not a model and you're not rich. That's why. It's like, oh, okay. You know, ladies, if you're not successful with finding a serious guy to marry you, well, you know what? Just forget it. Use him for his cash because he's going to use you for sex. And it's just it's a terrible, it's very avoidant. Basically, it's an avoidant culture that they're preaching
Mhm.
for the people who are like this. And also, what they're telling you is to out sociopath the opposite sex. Just have no morals about it. Just use them for as long as you can use them for, and discard them when you're done. It's a very terrible way of moving forward in any sort of relationship. And many times they're telling men and women to just get out of the expectation of having a successful long-term relationship. Men and women aren't compatible, so on and so forth. So
Yeah, you really with this article. So again, this is the article in the New York Post by Adam about the internet being toxic when it comes to looking for love. You really kind of struck on the poisonous rhetoric that's out there and the messages that a lot of people. I think it's so important to raise awareness about this because a lot of times I think people don't realize, how this is getting into your head, how it's impacting you, like how you're adopting these things. You're kind of just blindly, you don't really realize how it's influencing you. And a really interesting thing that you said too is how the internet, ironically, promotes loneliness with these kind of messages and rhetoric versus connecting people, which you think would happen via the internet. So really,
yeah.
yeah, so really tackling and speaking up and raising awareness in terms of these toxic, harmful messages that, can play on a loop in your head, and these things that you're really adopting and living by and how they're really impacting your life.
Yeah, and the big thing, whether we're talking about dating or anything else, the big thing I really started understanding somewhat recently is that the internet is not used. Let me put it like this: the internet is used for confirmation. It's not used for challenging. More
Mm,
often than not, right? We follow people we like because it confirms whatever we think. Right? We follow the politicians we like because it confirms our political beliefs. Right?
mhm.
We're not usually looking to follow people who challenge us directly. So what also comes with that is if I'm in pain and someone confirms my pain and then gives me a reason for my pain, I'm more likely to listen to that person. And that's true about just about any sort of ideological stance. Cults operate in that way. They find people who are in a vulnerable position and say, I see your pain and I have a solution for your pain. And they go in that direction and it leads them down terrible paths. So what's happening here is people are having relationship pain. They're struggling, they're suffering. It may be men who are going through divorce, who don't know what to do and trying to figure out. They feel like they did everything right. And then all of a sudden, she just up and left on a Tuesday, right? And then here's some guy who comes up and says, "Don't worry, man. That's just what women do. They take your stuff, they take half your stuff, and they leave you, and blah 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 blah." Oh, someone recognizes my pain and they gave me an answer why. I'm going to listen to this guy because he's confirming. Rarely do people watch stuff to actually be challenged.
I
Yeah.
think a lot of generalizations are made as well. Like,
Yeah.
I have been with my husband for a long time, so I haven't been in the dating game for a while, but just seeing like content on social media and stuff, it is like you mentioned, all women are this way or all men are this way. And so people are like automatically assuming the worst in people. And I feel
Mhm.
like that gives, I mean, of course there's always bad people or bad actors out there. But I'd say for the most part, people are good and genuine and just when they're dating want to genuinely have a connection. And I think that this sort of mischaracterization gets laid on everybody and everyone kind of goes in with their defenses up right off the bat.
Absolutely. I completely agree. The generalizations, um, they fill in the gaps for people.
Hmm.
So as long as that generalization works for you, then that's fine. If I say all women are this way, and if you're another guy who feels aggrieved, yeah, man, that's what they do. They take after stuff. They sleep with your best friend. Like they put in all their personal baggage. They're like, yep, generalization fits. But they say, hey, all men are abusive. Whoa, stop generalizing. You know, so that you see that all the time. It's always good to generalize the other. It's not good to generalize me.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, like I'm all for empowering people. Like there's a degree where you can find it empowering that someone else is sharing a similar experience that you've gone, right? Like there's to a degree, but something else you spoke to and that I talk a lot about in therapy is balance, like balance in life. So these other what you're talking about that we're seeing on the internet in terms of the toxicity is taking it to a whole nother level where you really have to evaluate, is this helpful or is this harmful to me? So it can take it to that level that's like it's too far in the other direction. It's not empowering. It's like it's harming you to adopt this whole like oh, like I'm just gonna be myself and I don't need anyone, and yeah, to take it over the edge. And again, just in terms of the balance and not taking it too far.
Totally. You can be independent while still recognizing that you want a partner in life. There's nothing wrong with that. And I mean, at least speaking for myself, being married and being with a partner has not taken away my independence at all. I think that it's obviously in the right relationship, when you find it, you won't feel the need to like sacrifice things about yourself in order to be happy and be comfortable.
I agree with that. I hear this, and I think it's just a selection issue. But the idea that you have to become someone completely different in order to be with someone, that's your sign that you shouldn't be with that person.
Yeah.
Right.
My wife, she was married before we got together to someone else for quite some time. And part of her issue was with him. He would cut her off all the time. And she kind of felt like she couldn't be herself. Right. And so when we started talking as friends, she had like a stutter. And she would start stuttering, and then she'd be like, you know what, never mind. And I would say, no, like, finish what you were going to say. And over time, that stutter started going away because she stopped being self-conscious. Because what she would do is prepare she's like, all right, I'm going to talk to him later, and I have to have my lines ready for when I'm going to speak so I can craft it and I can say it fast enough before he cuts me off. And what I told her was like, no, just be yourself. Like, I'm not going to cut you off. And the stuttering problem basically went away. It's very rare that she stutters at all. And that's because I want her to be herself. I like her. I want her to be herself. Why would you want to craft somebody else out of a person you're choosing to be with forever? So yeah, I don't understand that. If that person's trying to mold you into somebody else, there's one thing, like if I have a flaw, like if I'm too big, and they want to help me lose weight, all right, that's an improvement kind of thing. But if they're like, I don't like that quality about you, and you need to change that, but there's nothing harmful about that quality, and you feel uncomfortable, if you feel uncomfortable and you can't express yourself, especially, you can't communicate with that person, that you say something, that person explodes. Like, these are all signs.
Yeah.
Get out of that relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. No, that's a beautiful story. I feel like, the story of you and your wife in general, it's all beautiful. And I'm so glad that you're sharing it, because it kind of comes back to what you speak to in the article about hope, like the focus on hope and instilling hope and giving people hope that they too can find something beautiful like what you have. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, you should feel comfortable being yourself and not feel pressure to be someone different. as you mentioned, I mean, I think communication is huge, and we all have our baggage and issues as humans. And our, so part of the communication is trying to work, I think, through that together. And, hopefully you're able to do that. And you're each trying to work on things as individuals to make you a healthier team. Like all of that is great. But yeah, this whole mentality of, getting into the relationship and thinking you can change or wanting to change the other person or feeling uncomfortable, like, right. And off the bat, you feel that way. Like, definitely, yeah, no. There's some great comments in here, so I want to say hi to everyone. Thank you so much for sharing, reposting. To what we were just saying, Nikki said, if we're planning for the end of our relationships in the beginning, we're setting them up for failure. No.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's a great point. Hi, bold and beautifuls. What's up? We heart you. Thank you. We've got Creative Octopus says Adam is the man. Adam is the man. We love it. So happy to have Adam here.
Thank you.
Thoughts on this, or Cole? Don't we all want a friend to commiserate? I think we all want a friend, right? Like you speak to this, Adam. Like your partner should be your friend. You should have a friendship. Commiserate? I mean, support is good, but like when life be lifing.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to touch on the friendship part, and Hannah, if you want to speak to it. Speaking of friend, my wife is bringing me some water because my throat's dry. Thank you, honey.
Aww. I love that.
Hi, lovely. That's so nice. Yeah, see, teamwork makes dream work. Yes,
absolutely. No, the aspect. So I'll happily admit this. When I was younger, dating and stuff, and I would hear a guy say that my wife is my best friend. I'd be like, I don't believe you. Like, is she really your best friend? It sounds like something you're saying to make your wife happy or something like that. But now I get it. I absolutely get it. My relationship with my wife, this is the first time I was like a friend, and then it turned into a relationship. So we spent, she was separated. I was single. We were living in different states. I was living in New Jersey. She was in upstate New York, and we would talk every night from 8 p.m. sometimes to like 2, 3 in the morning. Just talk about anything and everything. And the only thing we didn't talk about was sex. Like I wasn't trying to pick her up. I wasn't even talking to her like she could be my girlfriend or anything like that. I was just talking to her like as a human being, and I really liked talking to her. And we would laugh, and she open up to me and tell me stuff, and she would cry, and I would hear her out, and we just became friends. And even with us going out, I was just like, hey, you want to hang out? She's like, yeah. And she's like, it's a date. I was like, wait a minute. Is it a date? I was like, I mean, she is kind of cute. I mean, I don't know. I guess it is a date. And then, we went on that date, and basically been together almost every day since. So, but it was the first time I actually had like a genuine friendship with her. So that molded everything. So if we have an argument, it's short because I listen to her. I try to encourage her. Like, if you have a problem, just please tell me, and I'll shut up and listen. And she tells me whatever's going on, and we talk about it, and we're good. I'm not trying to win fights because she's my friend. Like, I'm not trying to win a fight with my friend. I'm trying to resolve the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So we can go back to hanging out. But I feel bad in some ways for when I hear these guys like, oh, the old ball and chain, and I'm like, man, I have fun. Every year, since basically our honeymoon, every September we travel abroad. We go somewhere. We've been married 4 years now. Every September we go somewhere, we pick a place, and we just go. And I think together we've been to 9 or 10 countries. And we spend 2 weeks away, and it's just us. And we have fun, and we see new things. And the last week we stay in one place and by the beach and just do absolutely nothing. We hang out and we have fun. And I'm just like, I can imagine not liking her, and and going someplace with someone I can barely stand. It sounds weird to me. It sounds like a weird concept, but um,
Totally. I
yeah,
hear like, and I feel like that hopefully, fingers crossed, kind of our generation is killing that off because I think it's a kind of a boomer thing or like a Gen X thing, maybe. I'm not really sure. But yeah, it's like sad to hear that. So it's like, why did you marry someone that you don't want to, you hang out with that person every day? Like whether it's, just at the end
right.
of the day when you have dinner and you're watch a show or something before you go to bed, like it's the person that you come home to every single day and you want to hang out with every single day. Like, of course, I have, my girlfriends and friends that I've had since sixth grade that, predate even knowing my husband, and they'll always be my best friends too. But it's a different type of relationship because you're together every single day and you have inside jokes together that nobody else would understand. And like just the I don't know, the security and the feeling of just having someone to do life with every single day. That should be an amazing feeling. And yeah, it's disappointing when you hear people talk about their spouses that way. So it's like, what's the point then? Just be single. Like it's awesome being married. And I guess if you feel like that, like maybe you shouldn't have married that person. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I can speak from like a guy's perspective, and this is kind of like my criticism of other guys, because I'm being very general. Men aren't the ones who are selecting, right? The men are the ones who are being picked. So it's hard finding a woman who likes you. It's hard to find a woman who likes you. It wants to be around you consistently. It's hard finding a woman who wants to consistently have sex with you. All these things put together. So you get into a relationship with that woman and you see red flags or you see whatever, but you're lasting in some sort of relationship. Now you've been together for a year or two. Well, I guess I got to propose to her, right? You just like what they're ultimately do is just rolling one situation into the next situation into the next. And next thing you know, it's 5 years later, they have a kid, and the only time they get along is when they're about to screw. Like I was like, you didn't build any sort of real relationship. You were just turning your sexual partner and giving them new titles every so often. But like, and then you're shocked when this person says, I don't even like you. I want a divorce. They just want to move on. Thanks for the wedding. That was fun, but I want out of this. So I think a lot of guys just keep rolling new titles into the woman they're consistently having sex with and not really thinking about it because they have more of a scarcity mindset. Because it is hard to go back out there and try to find someone that you actually mesh with. Um, and I would have, if my relationships didn't fail, I would have been one of those guys for sure. But this is my first and only marriage for sure.
I've seen something, Twitter post or a meme or something to the effect of that men essentially will settle down with whatever woman that they're with when they're ready to settle down. And of course, that's a generalization. It's more of a,
Mhm.
negative generalization. But how do you feel about that kind of sentiment? Like, because that kind of seems like what you're saying, like, kind of just, I guess this is how it goes. And you just take the next step and the next step. And then all of a sudden you're married without really intentionally getting there. Um, do you think that that's a man problem? Do you think that's a, relationship problem? What do you think?
I think certain guys are like that for sure. I've met guys like that, and I'm not perfect. I would have been one of those guys, and partly because I didn't grow up in a household where anyone was married. My father wasn't there, so my understanding of a relationship was very skewed. I didn't have a good understanding. I was very much so about, oh, she likes me. Okay, I guess I'll stay here. I didn't have a whole lot of confidence either. I think in the article, I talk about if you improve yourself, you get
Mhm.
better partners as well. And that's what I had to do. I had to improve myself. So when Michelle says, "Oh, I wish I met you 10 years ago" or something like that, I was like, I wasn't the same person. Like I had to improve myself. I had to become a more secure and better man. Um, so I can actually have the relationship that we do have today. But yeah, some of it comes with just being low confidence. There's a lot of low confidence men who think they have to settle for a woman who barely stands them. Um, and you don't have to do that, and I would not suggest you do that. Um, Especially don't have kids with that woman. Please don't have kids with that woman. There's too many kids in unfortunate circumstances with parents who barely got along in the first place. So yeah, please don't do that.
Well,
Be very
well,
careful.
yeah, well, speaking to your point, like, so I have a little bit different perspective, right? I was married for
Mhm.
14 years, and the military was really hard on my relationship. The
Mm.
military lifestyle is kind of what did us in. We married very young or whatever, and me being gone year on, year off or whatever, that it was just too much to overcome. And in the end, right when I retired, I got divorced. But the thing is I was in about 2019, I was thrown into what you guys are talking about, right? I was thrown into this new world, right? I met my wife, my ex-wife, organically, so it was a completely different situation. And now I'm on dating apps and stuff like that. And it's like I'm dating on cheat mode, and it's like you're flooded with really bad matches, right? But you got a ton of them, and it's like it's almost like social media where you get in the dopamine hit and stuff like that, and you're like, well, which one next? Which one next? Which one next? You know what I mean? And it's like it's very toxic. And I quickly realized that this is not the way to go. This is not what I was looking for. Again, I never wanted to be divorced. I never I wanted my marriage to last forever, right? That's why you do it. And I have kids too, and now they're men, but like it just, it wasn't, I quickly realized that it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't the route that I wanted to go. And the the other piece is too, is like back to your point about the men, kind of getting what they get or whatever. These women are flooded. They will have thousands of matches, and they can just pick whichever one they want. And guys, they get only a couple or whatever, and they're like, well, shit, this is the only one that I'm gonna get or whatever, so I might as well go and try and make it work or whatever. And that's the reality, because I see that everywhere. It's not just me or whatever. I talk to other people too, and it's the same thing. But it's really a toxic way of dating that people are doing this, and it's not, obviously it's not working for them, right? They're still out there, they're still, and they're getting these toxic relationships, and then like Adam said or whatever, like they have, hopefully they don't have a kid or whatever, but like they do these things or whatever, and then they just end up in another broken relationship. They're back on dating apps doing it all over again. And so
Yeah.
just from personal experience, just talking to other people, it's that's the way it's going. And it's really like, the dating apps love it, right? Because they're making money. They don't want you to have this success. They algorithmically, they're not trying to make you make this success or whatever. And so that's it's kind of the cycle that we're in, and it's really toxic.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
I've been married for 4 years as well. My husband and I have been together 9 years this month, actually. So, but I remember living in California after high school and being on the dating apps for a little bit. And like you said, just having so many matches. And I remember thinking like almost going into it like not really taking anybody seriously. And it's like a game when you're like, oh, does this person think I'm hot, or like, do I think this person is hot? And it's like that's really the extent of it for a lot of people. I think a lot of people really don't have the intention to ever meet up with anybody, and if they do, it's for a hookup or whatever. um but yeah, it's like a gamified version of dating that is not real. It doesn't exist. And
Yeah, and no consequences. No
yeah.
consequences, like Adam was saying. Like
Mm-mm.
you can ghost them, you can do whatever you want. Like you don't have to, like, you can just completely cut loose, and no consequences. Nobody in the rest of your life knew anything that happened. And I think that's the norm, honestly, on there. Like that's what people are going through. And so that should be a red flag to them that, hey, this this is not the way to go, because I've met far better quality people, in person or whatever. Like it's just a better way to do things than these dating apps. I think they're really toxic.
100%. Yeah, my husband and I met in person as well. I actually went along with my cousin. She was kind of talking to this guy, knew him from college, and invited us to go meet up with his friend group at the rodeo. And my husband was one of his friends, so we kind of got acquainted that way. And 6 months later, he asked me on a date, and we ever since then we've been together. But yeah, I'm so thankful that I met him in person, and I talk about that all the time. Like, I'm so glad we didn't meet on an app. And it was just, I don't know, it was just a feeling, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go on a date with this guy. And then the rest is history. But I came to find out that he grew up 5 minutes away from my grandma. And it's kind of weird. Oregon is really small. And like I live now across the bridge from the town I grew up in, but like that high school, the high school in the town I'm in now, there's like 5 or 6 high schools where if you went to one of those, you knew kind of other people from that same district, so to speak. And my husband went to one of the high schools that was kind of in that little group. So I knew of people who knew his siblings, and like there's a connection there that's in real life, like you mentioned. And like, if we would have broken up, I would have known where his parents' house, was 5 minutes away from my grandma's. So yeah, it's just, there's real life consequences. There's real life connection as well. And I just can't imagine how it must be to be on the dating apps these days. My condolences.
And also, there's, a dating profile cannot summarize a genuine human experience with someone. Like it, and this is part of the problem when you see guys who say like, oh, you got to be like the hottest guy in the world to have some sort of relationship success, or be the richest guy in the world. I know guys who aesthetically do not look all that pleasing, but there's something about them, and they get women all the time. I think of a kid when we were in high school. And yeah, pimples and everything. He could not get the women off of him. I was like, what is it about this guy? They're losing their minds over him. And he just had that aura. And he also just didn't care that much. And they love that.
There's so much to be said about personality. And like, I don't know about you, Angela, but me as a woman, like, I've never been attracted to the super pretty guys or the model types, because to me, that's like, I'd modeled like a little bit in high school, and I would have never dated any of those guys. Like, they care more about what they look like than I do. They go to the gym, and they're like, I don't know, it seems gay to me, but like, I've never liked that kind of like pretty guy. So you don't have to be, carved out in the gym and like super duper hot, looking like you could walk down a runway to get a decent woman. There are plenty of women who love men for their personalities. And yeah, I mean, everyone has a type. And I guarantee you that if you're nice and you're decent to women and you treat them right, you're going to find a lady who likes you no matter what you look like.
Well, the other thing too that I noticed was that like people are not looking for a healthy relationship. They are looking for a version of their past relationship where they're in charge, where they're not willing to bend on the things that they hold true, or whatever they say that you need to accept this about me, but I'm not going to accept the things about you. And so they're looking to replicate what they had before, but in a position where they're the one in power. And that's what I saw a lot too, is like they really don't want this healthy relationship. They don't know how to do this healthy relationship, probably because their last one was pretty toxic. And so they're trying to replicate what they had before, but where the roles are reversed, or where they're in charge and controlling things.
There are definitely some subconscious things that go on that play into why people pick or are attracted to certain people is not a healthy thing. So it is like, that self-awareness piece really is huge in terms of having healthier relationships, and really like trying to figure out what's been going on in the past so that you don't repeat it. to Adam's point about self-improvement and working on yourself in order to attract and have healthier relationships with other people, and the healthier and more whatever self-aware, and the more you improve yourself, like it tends to, lead to healthier relationships. I'm curious. I'm glad we circled back to this because Adam, I wanted to ask you what it was that sort of helped you realize that you did need to work on yourself.
Oh, how much time you got?
We got some time, but I mean, whatever
some
you're
time?
comfortable, you don't have to like get into it, but I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
curious what it was, like how you knew that, like, you're like, yeah, in order to attract the right person for me, or, I need to like do a little work on myself.
But that was more of a realization after the fact.
Okay.
Not necessarily going, like I needed to improve myself in general. Because all right, I'll give you an example, and it sounds cliche, but it was after a bad breakup. Um, I had moved out. We had a place together. Uh, Side note, she broke up with me through text, and we lived together. So, so like that tells you everything right there. So I moved out, went back home, and I quickly realized like I didn't know who I was, because I spent so much time with her and her
Mhm.
family, and I literally like had to ask myself like, what do I even like doing?
Mm.
What am I interested in? Because I felt literally lost, because I put everything into that, and I shouldn't have. Um, so I started to learn German because I was curious about German.
Cool.
Uh, I knew that I always said I wanted to travel to Europe, so I started saving up so I could go take a trip to Europe, which I did later that year. And I left my job. She wanted me to stay at that job. She's like, "Oh, you have it good there," and I was like, "I don't know. I should probably leave." I left that job almost immediately. I think it was like my first interview. Got the job. I think I increased my pay by like 15 grand or 20 grand right off the bat. Um, so things were looking up really fast. So I was just constantly improving. I was getting those little wins in my life.
Mhm.
And then when I finally did take that trip, it wasn't supposed to be a solo trip, but it ended up being a solo trip. And I came back and I felt way more relaxed than I thought. It wasn't vacation relaxed. It was like I felt at peace. And that's when I realized how much social anxiety that I had, for many years. And in hindsight, I remember when I was in that relationship and my social anxiety was kicking up, or it would eat away at my confidence and things of that nature. So it was a thing that solo traveling helped me to kind of shed. I shedded like 95% of it. And then I just started doing things that I had never done before. I just kept doing those things. I went to new places that I've never been to before. Um, learning German, I kept doing that. I still speak a little bit. We went to Vienna in September, so for the first time in some time, I was able to like listen and speak and try to have like short dialogue with people. Try to remember vocabulary, but I'm out of practice. But I kept doing those things. Ended up leaving that job a year later, made even more money, with the next job. So I just kept doing stuff like that. I kept constantly improving myself. And obviously, I'm sitting here talking to you guys because I made a massive change.
Yeah.
Um, so everything in the past 4 years has been different and has been new. But my wife has been she every decision that I've ever made, she's been there to encourage me to do it. Even when I was like, should I do that? She's like, yes, go ahead and do it because she believes in me.
Mhm.
And and so I don't know if I would have written my first book if it wasn't for her. And that's what started everything. So yeah, improve yourself, you'll attract a better person, and then you'll keep getting better. And that's what I've done.
Yeah, I mean, that's such great advice. And it can be uncomfortable, right? Like those things that are rewarding and like that get you to that next, like a fine it takes pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. But when you do those things, you learn, like, really listening to yourself and trying to, like, it's whatever. It's a whole process, and it isn't easy, and it's whatever. You might be unsure of yourself, but I think the more that you do it, and you start to gain confidence. And I think that confidence is another thing that is really attractive to people.
1000%.
To Hannah's point about, right, it's personality, it's all these other things. Confidence is a huge one. I feel like that's something that I see with people who have that aura that you were talking about, that people are attracted to. They don't have to be the most physically attractive person, but there is something about the personality, the confidence, that is charming and wins, and people are are attracted to, for sure.
I think it's an element of like being secure in yourself too, because you can kind of, when someone's insecure, they're unsure of themselves, I think that kind of just permeates off of them naturally. But if you're, you know, in a spot like Adam where you're improving yourself and you are building this self-confidence, like, you're naturally just going to feel better about yourself and you're going to carry yourself differently. And like, that's attractive for sure. If you feel like you're a loser and you feel like you're not going anywhere in life and like you're not doing nothing to improve it, people are going to be able to like pick that vibe up off you too. And like, that's not attractive to anybody. So yeah, I think it's like, it's kind of just manifesting the person you want to be, and that'll attract the person that you want to be with. You can't be stagnant and not growing and expect to find someone who, you know, checks all your boxes and is also growing and learning. And like, it definitely starts within, for sure.
Well, the apps and stuff too mask a lot of that, right? You can pretend to be somebody that you're not. You can pretend to be very confident. It lowers your inhibitions, right? You're gonna say things on there that you won't say in person, and so like that's another, like, I'm really not a fan of the dating apps. I would never encourage anybody to do them, even though my best friends met on Tinder, and they're some of the happiest people I know. Native Patriot also met his wife on Tinder, and there's some of that, but I think they're the outliers, right? I think most people should avoid that. They should look for something a little bit more organic, whatever the case may be, whatever they're into, you know, church, you know, whatever, like, different things are a much healthier way to meet people. Whatever it is that you're into, like, even on X. Like, if you meet somebody that has the same ideas and values and stuff like that, you're probably going to have a much better chance of matching with that person than you are, you know, on these dating apps or whatever, where they, you know, it's kind of fake, and you're not really seeing the real them, how they feel. Like, it's just really inorganic. And so, you know, someplace like that where, on X, you know, they talk about X or whatever, like X dating and stuff like that, but people really reveal themselves. They really say what they want to say. They really say how they feel, and so you're more likely to make a connection on some place like that than you are on these dating apps.
1000%.
Totally agree. I mean, just as someone who's married, I've met some of my best friends in the world on X. Like, I can only imagine, you know, if I were in the position to be looking for someone to date or to marry, that would probably be a good place to check, because that's already brought me some of my most favorite people in my life. So like you said, like, as long as people are authentic and kind of honest and about who they are on there, yeah, I think I truly believe that X is a dating app. I haven't personally used it that way myself, but I've seen a lot of success stories. And one of my best friends, Sarah, got married to a guy from X, and now they have 2 babies. And like, yeah, it's awesome. So I think I agree. I condone that as well.
Well,
And
to Adam's point, it's less of a stranger, right? It's like more of like a community where you get to know each other.
Exactly. And I actually want to touch to something that said before, when improving yourself and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I always think about is, like, I'll watch like these talk shows, and like, oh, he's been cheating on me since the very beginning, and you know, how long, you know, 10 years. He's slept with 10 women, and the question always comes to my mind is, well, you picked him. like that's what you said, this is the guy, right? And the same for women, you know. Well, dude, you picked this woman. Like, oh, she treats me like this and she does this. And it's like, but you're constantly choosing her because you're not changing anything, right? You said, I'm cool with that based off of your actions. And the reason being is because you think that's the best you can do. That's why any person stays, is because they think this is the best they can do. So you have exactly what you want, right? Unless you do something different. If he or he cheats on you and you say, that's it, I deserve better, I'm out, then you said, I can do better than that by your actions. But if you stay and you deal with it, that's because you think this is the best that you can do. So it's funny to me when I see people talking about their terrible relationships that they've stayed in for 5, 10, 15 years. And the line that runs through my head is like, yeah, you picked them and you thought that's the best that you can do. Like they're really telling about themselves. That's how they see themselves. If that guy, let's just use an example, if that guy is cheating on you for 10 years with a bunch of different women and pregnant women, and you still stay with that guy, you're saying, I don't deserve anything better than what I'm getting right here. I don't. I deserve a guy who barely cares about me. And that's Lucy saying that. I deserve this. I deserve this reckless life that this person is leading me with. So always kind of remember that. Whatever you accept, that's what you have. So that's why I say, if you improve yourself, well, if I improve myself, why would I accept someone who's much lower than myself in treatment, right?
Your standards raise as well.
My standards have raised, right? And this isn't about like looks or even economics or anything like that. It's a quality of a partner. And if you see yourself as someone who's lower, then that's what you get. If you're kind of a bummy guy who is on welfare, and I'm not surprised when you date a bummy chick who's on welfare. Like, people usually kind of match up in those arenas. So like if you improve yourself as a man or as a woman, and you kind of open yourself up to a better quality person, and you'll accept that better quality of person. And I've seen many cases where that person aesthetically looks like they're a decent human being, but man, do they reject every decent guy that comes in their direction. Like, because they don't think that there's something weird with that guy. He's nice to me. I want the guy who treats me like trash. That's the guy I deserve. He's going to cheat on me 10 times. Like, I want that guy. And that's what they do based off of their actions. So I stopped a long time ago. Stop listening to what people say. Watch what they do. Watch how they live their lives. Same with these influencers, these relationship influencers. They're some of the most lonely, miserable people. And I can tell, and I don't care if they have a smile on their face. You can watch how they move, and you can tell that there's something off with them, that they are not happy people. Yeah.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was something I wanted to touch on it, and it goes hand in hand with, like, I was thinking as Hannah, when you were talking, like, hurt people, right? That's a saying that I really love, that I use a lot. And, when you're not happy, you tend to take it out on other people, or you treat people a certain way, you degrade, you talk down. And this all kind of goes hand in hand, because these are red flags that you can pick up on. And to what Adam's saying, like, you either enable that behavior, or you stand up against it and say, like, I'm not going to tolerate this, and this is abuse, whether it's emotional, whatever, and try to correct. But the longer that stuff goes on, the harder it is to change, right? The longer you get in that pattern. So super important to be aware of that and think about it. And but yeah, going back to the influencers, that's another thing is, you said, be careful who you take advice from, be careful who you listen to. And when you really look at it the way that you put it in the article, these people are miserable, wounded, not happy, and lashing out. And is this kind of language is really helpful to anyone? Is it really helping you to listen to this person at the end of the day? And just to be skeptical that you'll ever find someone, and that love is foolish and impossible. What kind of life is that? Is that fulfilling to just be like, so all the animosity against the other sex?
It
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it can be. And like, it reminds me of what we were talking about last week about being able to have conversations with people you might, disagree with, or, not generalizing people and putting blanket generalizations down and, oh, you're this way because you're this. And like, I feel like the same can go for this conversation, like looking at all men the same way and not really giving an individual person a chance because you already have these preconceived notions about them because of X, Y, or Z, whether it's their politics or their gender or whatever it may be. It's like I think I mentioned before, like just kind of automatically assuming the worst and seeing the worst in people without really giving a fair chance to somebody.
Yeah.
Well, it's so much easier too. You don't have to accept that, hey, maybe I was screwed up. Maybe I did something. Maybe these were the wrong steps that I had. You can just basically put it all on the other person. They're screwed up. This guy's telling me why, and it all makes sense to me because that's how I saw it in my head. So that's it. It's so much easier for them just to buy on to the whatever, the Tates, these other people or whatever, and just be like, yep, they're screwed up. He's saying it. I believe it, and so I'm just gonna go with that.
And I'm not
Yeah.
taking marriage advice from someone who's not married. Sorry.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
as simple
Talk
as it is.
yeah, talk to your grandparents. Like take advice from your grandparents. They know.
Yeah.
Although I will say, not to take aim at grandparents, but I will say that when there's different eras, there are different challenges. And so, like, your grandparents wouldn't understand the challenge of trying to date somebody on the internet. Like, they just wouldn't. So, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people who are headed in the same trajectory as your grandparents, who have a very fulfilling long-term relationship, who had to find a way to navigate around an internet dating situation.
Yeah. I
You got
mean,
good lighting.
Oh,
We're getting lots of love from Mike Mack right now.
Yeah. Mike Mack's a
Thank
good
you.
guy.
Love you, Mike. Thank you.
I feel my grandma gives great, marriage and relationship advice, and she's been around the block a few times. She knows what she's talking about. Like, I
Yeah.
trust what she has to say because she has the wisdom, and like it's so much of. And my grandparents, my grandpa passed away, but before he passed away, my grandparents were married for 60 years, and I feel like something that's so common from their advice, at least, is to, you have to be willing to grow with this person, and there's always going to be things that drive you nuts. And I think in this day and age of like, oh, it's so easy to get on an app and just find the next person, you like put in your head that you don't have to, you're going to find this perfect person who never pisses you off and never drives you crazy and, never gets under your skin. And that's not true. Like, especially when you've been with someone for almost 10 years, of course, there's things that, I do that probably drive my husband insane. And there's things that he does too. He can't load the fucking dishwasher correctly. And like, it's like those little things where it's like, there's going to be things that drive you nuts. And like on the, days when you're having a really hard day and you open the dishwasher and it's loaded wrong, you're like, oh, fuck. And like, you feel like you want to lose your mind, but it's like, those are the things that that's being married, and that's what it is. And it's never going to be sunshine and rainbows all day, every day. Like, that's not realistic. And I think that people are looking for this like idealized relationship where it's perfect all the time. And, you're always happy and you're always in love and you always want to make out. And, that's not real life, especially when you're both working and you have a house and you have, pets or kids or whatever. Like, life happens, but that's when it's important to have a partner that you can trust and who supports you, and like all those big things come into play. But yeah, I mean, you're never going to find a perfect person who absolutely never drives you nuts or anything. Like, that's not realistic. So just because someone might drive you nuts or have, a little quirk doesn't mean that that's necessarily a red flag and you got to throw them out the door. Like, we can't be so easy to dispose people.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, loading the dishwasher is not ultimately like the thing that matters most in life, right?
Right.
Like it's annoying. Like you said, there's annoying things that annoy you. There's quirks. We all have them. We're all human. But like that's not what's really important. Yeah. And I think people are, it seems, very quick to throw in the towel. And I don't know, I feel like in a lot of areas in life, people just want things to be easy. They want overnight success. They want, I don't know. And I feel like these messages that we get from society and social media do play into that. And I don't think enough people question these messages that we're getting that are toxic from the internet, to your point, Adam. There's a,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of them.
We need to decide too. Like we need to see a photo of how you load it. We need to see a photo of how he loads it, and we're gonna
I've
decide.
posted before.
Yeah, we need to post a. We need like it's like the toilet paper thing. We need to
Yeah,
see. We need to see.
right.
We need to judge. Like honestly, we gotta see that.
And
Yeah,
it's, you know, it's funny because it's like, it's the dishwasher. Who cares? Like, out of all things I could complain about, I'm so grateful that I have a wonderful enough husband that how he loads the dishwasher is the thing that drives me nuts the most. But like, it's, yes, I can post it. I'll repost the pictures and you will all agree with me that I've loaded the dishwasher correctly. So,
we'll do a poll, like people can
yes,
vote. Yeah.
yes.
Well, I would call that the crisis of options. You know, when
Mhm.
everyone believes that there is an option out there. Um, and even with internet dating, it's like you open up the app and you just see a ton of faces. It gives you this illusion that there's multiple. I can just pick one. And the reality is that that's an illusion. It's not real. You're not going to marry a profile. You're going to marry a person. And to be honest with you, humans don't like perfect. Like people lose their
That's
mind when there's no issue whatsoever.
Mhm.
So there's always going to be an issue because human beings are flawed. Everyone's flawed, right? And what you want to do is minimize the issues, right? And improve and things like that. But like, I'm sure there's times where I've upset my wife, or I didn't do the thing that I said I was going to do because I forgot, whatever it is. Matter of fact, I know for sure that I've done that, and I will probably continue to do that, not purposefully. So that's going to happen. And same thing with her. There's going to be something that's going to upset it. But here's the thing, it's an opportunity to talk about it so we can minimize it so it doesn't bother us, it doesn't build resentment, things
Mhm.
like that. But in no way like is there any sort of perfect relationship that's out there, because one, human beings aren't perfect, and having two people get along 100% of the time with zero issues is not real. It's just not real.
Not
Now,
at all.
it doesn't mean that when there's disagreements that it's this big blow up. See, I think as I'm kind of talking and thinking out loud, I think what matters is the spectrum, right? You can have a disagreement, but what does that disagreement look like? I knew, I know I'm kind of veering off, but like I knew for sure that I wanted to continue my relationship with her after our first disagreement, because I got to see how she responded. Because my ex would pretend like everything is fine and not talk to me for days.
Mm.
She would do that. And she was avoidant, or she was aggressive. It was one or the other. Um, and I just want to like talk about it and so resolve it and just move on. And when I talked, she didn't say anything. She was actually listening to me. And then she said, "You're right. Okay, I appreciate that." And then we just moved on. And I was like, "Yes. Yes, because the spectrum it's a small spectrum. We have never ever gone into name calling. I've never called her out of her name. I've never, said things that I would regret. I've never done any of that stuff. And that tells me like the spectrum between everything is good when we have and then having a disagreement is a very it's not very wide in that
Mhm.
spectrum. It's the
It's
people
not
who have a
super up
wide
and
spectrum.
down. the
Right.
toxicity is like it's really good when it's really good and it's really bad when it's really bad. And
Exactly.
having been in toxic relationships myself in the past, I did someone said it, but kind of like when you get into a healthy relationship where you're communicating, and like it was like I was waiting for the ball to drop, like why is he so nice to me, like why
Yeah.
are we able to talk, why does he listen to me, why are we able to talk about things without it like blowing up into something so huge. And like yeah, it's just that's the type of person that you want to be with. And if it's this like really really bad and you're screaming and you're fighting and you're yelling at each other, but then it's so high because you made up and you're kind of riding this high, but then it's back down again, that's a toxic cycle. And like
Yeah.
like you said, the spectrum for a healthy relationship is a lot more narrow, and it's a lot, you feel a lot safer, you feel a lot more secure, but you also don't have these like wild ups and downs. Like it's pretty much good all the time, and when it's not good and you have a disagreement, you can have a healthy conversation about it. It doesn't have to turn into screaming and yelling and name calling. And that's something
Exactly.
I had to learn. So yeah, it's for sure.
Which I think is, why it's so important, again, to sort of reflect and learn from past relationships and experiences so that you don't repeat those same patterns or self-sabotage or sabotage because you're scared that this is different, but it was actually a good thing to be different. Like to really like, learn from those past experiences and take away like so that the next one is healthier. And as Adam has been saying, like work on yourself to get to so that you don't keep doing the same thing over and over. Quick reminder to everyone, please, 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 if you're on X, repost the stream. That would be amazing. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, heart you. That would be great. While we're sort of on this topic, it's kind of already coming up, but something that, in reading your article, Adam, and everyone who hasn't seen it, check out Adam's article in the New York Post. That's what we're sort of using as our topic for the night, to sort of explore love, dating, relationships, and how the internet is toxic when it comes to that. Something even as a therapist that I talked a lot about is characteristics, really identifying characteristics of unhealthy versus healthy relationships. And I know some of the unhealthy ones that you mentioned, Adam, were this avoidant kind of thing and manipulation. I think that's a really big one that I feel like you commonly see is manipulative behavior, manipulation. But some of the healthy ones, I mean, we can speak to any of them, but that have already come up is like friendship, support, teamwork. We've talked about, communication, yeah, I mean, a lot. I want to give you, I have some others, but like safety. In your article, you talked about it feeling like home or feeling, peaceful. I think
Yeah.
there's such important things for everyone to kind of identify and think about for themselves when it comes to their relationship, like what they need and what's healthy.
Well, and actually, it's good that you brought that up because there was something I wanted to bring up as well that goes along with this. I've had conversations with people where they've asked, like, how do you know that this person is the one, right? And it's a big question with an easy answer, and the answer is it's easy, right? It's just easy. Everything about this relationship is just easy. And I think a lot of people have bought into that they have to scratch and claw and fight for a relationship. That is your sign that things are not going well. Like, get out.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't have to do that. There are people who get into that like week 2 of being together. And that's how the relationship basically starts. And they kick and scream and claw and yell and they fight to stay with someone. That is every indicator that you should not be with that person. A good, healthy relationship is easy. You don't think about it. I don't think about like, oh, am I going to say this thing that's going to upset her, or how do I do? I don't think about any of that stuff. It's just I just talk to her, right? And she talks to me, and it's just easy. Hey, can we talk about this thing? We're just constantly communicating. We're not worried about like, oh, well, if I smell weird, is she gonna think like? I'm not thinking about it. It's just easy. She's she's forgiving. I'm forgiving. It's just easy. if it's the opposite where you're walking on eggshells, and it's not to say you don't have moments, but if I have that with her, I'm like, we need to talk about whatever this is right now because I do not like feeling like this whatsoever. I am not going to have a relationship where I walk on eggshells. Tell me whatever you got going on. We need to talk about it. And I'm sincere about this. Like, I want to hear it. If I'm doing something wrong, like, please tell me. And we talk about it. And it clears the air and we're good. And we never bring it back up. There's no scorekeeping with us. So, like, that's how it should be. So if you're looking for different traits, you're looking for someone who listens and they rather be happy than win an argument. Like, I'm not trying to win an argument. She's not trying to win an argument. Avoid people who do absolutes. You always do this. Like, avoid that type of stuff. But once again, this goes back to if you're someone who's improving yourself, you wouldn't accept that. And you also wouldn't be that person because you would be very introspective about who you are, what you're looking for, and how you treat people. But I think that all goes together. When you're improving yourself, you're literally looking at, like, what's my flaws? How can I improve? So you're being very introspective in the first place.
Yeah, no, those are really great points. To all absolutely. Those are all really good characteristics, I think, to look for. And just, being like self-aware and, not to say that there aren't things you might need to work on. Right. And like, not to what we were saying earlier, not throwing in the towel just because we all do have our issues and our baggage. And we might, like you said, it's about communicating. It's about trying to work together, take accountability, or like, nobody's perfect. Right. So I feel like another red flag is people who are, it's always blaming the other person, never taking any personal responsibility for, I feel like that's another red flag that I feel like has come up in relationships where it's always like the blame game. It's always you and I'm the victim. And because no one's perfect, we all mess up sometimes. So you have to be able to, apologize or like think, I don't know, work on, like you said, work on yourself.
I'd say that's a big one, like not being able to take accountability, because you're always going to have, there's going to be something, you're going to have disagreements going forward. And there has to be times when you say, I fucked up here, or, the other person say, I screwed up here and I'm sorry. Or maybe you both screwed up and you both have things to apologize for. I notice that with my husband and I, when we have disagreements or arguments, we almost always both apologize at the end, because we both did things throughout the argument that, we maybe didn't react the best way that we could have, or said something that, we wouldn't have said if we weren't arguing. And it's like, it's not, oh, well, this was all your fault or this was all my fault. It's very much like you're facing the problem together and you both probably screwed up, which is why you're in an argument in the first place. And so being able to recognize that and hold the other person accountable as well, like not just always let them off the hook, because that can be dangerous as well. You get into a position where you enable that, and then that builds resentment. So both parties definitely have to be able to take responsibility for their parts, because it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
Well, would you guys say that, like, society is increasingly teaching people to be less accountable for the actions, right? They like talking in terms of like workforce and stuff like that. Like, people are late on a regular basis, right? I did 20 years in the military, right? And re-entering the workforce or whatever, like, I saw things that blew my mind. I'm like, this was not the way it was when I was, 18, 19 years old even. And now I'm seeing people just doing things that are just crazy. And I'm like, what the hell? And, people are just like, well, that's just the way it is now. That's the way people are now. And it's like, I'm talking about workforce, but I'm also talking about the relationship piece. Like, people are less willing to be accountable for their actions, right? They're just saying, well, it wasn't my fault or whatever. Like, this is the way it is or whatever. And so, like, getting back to your relationship talk, I think that, things are getting harder and harder in that respect, because people aren't willing to accept the things that they do are wrong, and they don't have to in a lot of ways in any other part of their life.
I think it's a big problem with like this therapized language that people have learned, and I'm someone who loves therapy. I've been in therapy for almost 2 years now, and I've learned so much, and I love my therapist because she does hold me accountable, and it's not always like, oh yeah, you're the victim in this situation, because it's probably easy for people to manipulate their therapist. I would say if they're only ever hearing your side. It's like if you have a therapist that's not very good, they're going to hear your side and never question it and be like, validate you and, oh, you're right. But it's like, no, that's not a good therapist. My therapist tells me like, oh, maybe you could have handled this differently, or like next time, how are you going to improve? How are you going to grow? Like that's what a therapist should be, and that's what self-improvement should be, not this like weaponized version of therapy that I feel like a lot of people are partaking in, whether they actually go to therapy or not. It's this like, oh, well, I'm the victim, and like no one understands from my side, and like this, like, I don't know, it's this weird like selfishness when it comes to like not considering anyone else's feelings. It's like, yes, it's good to understand and prioritize your own feelings, but that doesn't mean you throw other people's away and like don't take them into consideration. And I think that that's similar to what you're saying, is like there's this just lack of like personal responsibility. It's like, oh, it's the world's fault, or it's my ex's fault,
Right.
or my boss's fault, or whatever it is. And I don't know where that comes from, but I definitely see it as well.
Yeah.
There's a I'm sorry, were you gonna say, Angela?
No, go for it.
Yeah, it's it's you're perfect as you are, right? There's nothing wrong with you. That person, there's something wrong with them. They need to get on your program. It's your world, Hannah.
Yeah, right.
Right. That's what they're preaching. Because only
Yeah.
someone who thinks that they're perfect would never see that they're at fault for anything. So yeah, of course. And I also think another big thing is intent. So we used your husband as an example of doing the dishwasher. If you understand, like, he's just not good at it, right? that's different than he's purposefully not doing this right.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
totally.
That's different. And so sometimes what ends up happening in these relationships, and I personally think it has to do with not healing from something else, they carry intent into the relationship. So if, for example, my wife tells me she's leaving for work, she says, hey, make sure you take out the trash. She comes back from work and I forgot to take it out because I just got distracted. I'm easily distracted and I might forget. She doesn't automatically take it as he doesn't care what I say. That's why he's doing it, or I'm trying to disrespect her. She's just like, you said you were going to take it out. Like, what happened? Oh, sorry. I'll take it out right now. Skip my mind. Right. So the intent is something that's very important. And I think sometimes what ends up happening, and probably what sparks these really big blowouts where people can't talk, is because they presume the intent is the worst possible intent. It's purposefully disrespectful. It's malicious. It's spiteful. It's all these things as to why their partner did X, Y, and Z, or didn't do X, Y, and Z. And they're carrying around this intent, and they're not giving that person grace, or just understanding like, hey, listen, I was tired, completely forgot. You know what? Yes, I know you told me 2 times already to do this thing. I got sidetracked with it. No, you don't listen to me. It turns into all that stuff and not giving that person grace. So, if that's a case with myself, I try to tell her, like, listen, I apologize. I was supposed to take it out. I said I was going to take it out. I know I didn't. I get easily sidetracked. Like, and she understands, but she doesn't walk into malicious intent when it comes to something
Totally.
like that.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that really speaks to the resentment piece that you mentioned. Like, I feel like the more that issues don't sort of get resolved or addressed and you don't communicate things, people hold on to that resentment and then they snap at any little thing about the trash or the dishwasher. And it comes out like like very angry, like and it's like any little thing, because it's just been building. It's building and building because you haven't resolved, and you're holding on to stuff from the past. That's very, I think, just toxic and negative.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if I can say something that I think people will understand. Silence puts people in a position to fill in the gaps. So when you don't talk to each other, then any little thing, that person starts filling in the gaps of why you're doing what you're doing, or what you're probably up to, or like, because they're not getting any sort of message from you because they're not talking to you, right? And I've seen that before. And you just start spiraling in your head, coming up with conspiracies and coming up with this because there's silence between you two. You're not actually talking about these things. And so you're making this person into being the devil. Meanwhile, this person has no idea what is going on in your head. So that's why I feel like I've been saying, like, that's, I talk to my wife, because it's that important. Like, you have to constantly talk to each other. And if there's ever a time where I feel like something is awkward, or I'm just asking, like, you all right? Like, yeah, I'm fine. All right, cool. Like, I just want to make sure you're good because you're moving differently. And I want to make an environment where she can feel comfortable and talk to me. Because I talk. Like, if I got a problem, it's not going to take me long to tell you, like, I got a problem. I'm very straightforward with her, but it's because I love her. And that's why, because I don't want to harbor anything, but I also don't want to react emotionally. So I might wait a little bit, but I wait for that right moment to call it what it is.
Yeah, it's that's a healthy way of, not letting things build up. And something you said earlier reminded me, just like similar to the no one's relationship is perfect all the time. Also, men and women are different. So in hetero marriages, like, there's always going to be things that men and women are different about. And, like, I feel like a lot of married women, you see TikToks that, not maliciously, poking fun at their husbands, but just have the same complaints, like, oh, I told you 3 times that we were going to dinner with my mom, and, like, why do you not remember these things? Or, like, similar things the other way with women. And, like, we have hormones that men don't have and don't understand, and we're on different rhythms with our bodies and with our emotions. And, like, that's always going, when you marry someone that's the opposite sex of you, that is always going to be a factor. And, like, that's how you learn to get through those things. Like you mentioned, Adam, just bringing things up and, like, oh, maybe she's acting a little bit off. And for me, like, yeah, maybe I am acting a little bit off because I'm, about to get my period, or I'm on my period or whatever. And my husband giving that opportunity to, like, what's her problem? Is she mad at me? No, it's just like, hey, are you okay? Yeah, I'm just about to get my period. I feel like crap. And then it's like this understanding of, like, oh, it has nothing to do with me. Like, it's just the communication needs to stay open, because at the end of the day, men and women are very, very different. And, like, there's always going to be the difference of the sexes, and how we think is different, and how our brains process information is different. And you learn to live with those things, and you learn to navigate those things, but that's always a reality for sure. And I think people also forget that too.
Yeah. And the reason we're different is because we complement each other. A good relationship between a man and woman is a relationship where they can complement each other. So I'm not organized, but my wife also doesn't expect me to be organized. But the thing that I have to recognize too is, like, I should ask her to help me, because every time she comes into my office, she's losing her mind. So, like, this past it was this weekend or the weekend before, I was like, you can come in here and you can help me clean this place. She's like, oh, thank God. Because that's her strength. She knows my weakness. So she knows I'm not, like, purposely trying to be messy in my office. But she knows that's my weakness. So it's in same thing. I'm a very logical, problem solving person. And so, like, she'll come to me and I'll give her my advice or give my 2 cents. And she's like, yeah, that worked. Yeah, you were right about that. And so we communicate because we know we complement each other, but we give each other grace because we know, like, I'm weak here, but where I'm weak, you're strong. And that's why we're good together. And that, yeah, you see that over and over and over. So yeah, we're definitely different. And I laugh all the time when she's like, why aren't you excited about this sale? I was like, because I'm a straight man. I'm not going to be excited about your candle sale.
But that's such an important message to, just accept that we're not good at everything, and that your partner,
Yeah.
that can balance you out or help you out in some ways. Some people just have that like pride or that ego where it's like, I have to do everything on my own. And, being able to like accept that, and help each other in that way, and be okay with that. A lot of what you've been saying just makes me think about thought processes and perspective. You heard me say this a lot because I think it's so true. What you tell yourself really matters. And you've said this in many different ways, but it's like just the example that you used of your wife coming in to help you and being open to that, and seeing that as a positive thing rather than, she doesn't trust me to take care of my own. Like people get in, like, it's all how you sort of frame it of, I can do this, I don't need your help. So the way you sort of look at these situations and what you tell yourself about them plays such a big difference in how you feel and how you act and how you behave, and how you could butt heads over it, rather than being like, oh, this is such a nice thing that she wants to do for me and help me out. And she is, better at this thing, or this is a strength of hers. And that's just such a different approach than, she thinks I'm terrible at this, and like, I got to show, I have to show her. Like we can do that in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why being self-aware is important, because I know that I'm not good at that. So like, why would I be upset when she's like, hey, you're not good at that? Hey, how dare you say the thing that I already know? Like, of course. So you got to be aware of what you're good at, what you're capable of doing. There are plenty of things I'm not good at, just like everybody else. But I know what I am good at. So I know what my strengths are. But these are all things that you have to be very mindful of. But I think as long as you care about your spouse, like, all this stuff is just second nature. Like, you don't even, we're talking about it because we're discussing it, but like many of these things I'm talking about, I don't even think about. Like, I know my wife and I joke, I'm her doctor. If she says, oh, I'm not feeling well, I'm like, did you drink water? She didn't. And she goes to drink water. Like, I'm constantly, anytime she has some sort of weird little ailment, I already know what it is, because I pay attention to my wife, and I know what she needs, and I know what's going on. So like, as long as you care about the person, these are just second nature types of things, but you pay attention. So I know when she's normal, and I know when she's full of shit and she's lying to me and she doesn't want to tell me what's wrong. And so you kind of figure these things out, and you try to set up an environment where, like, listen, I know something's going on. Whenever you're ready, just talk to me about it. And then, she might tell you right then, or she may tell you an hour later. You don't know. But that's kind of what you have to do. You just have to pay attention. I think if you care about anything, you'll pay attention to it. If you care about your favorite basketball team, like, you'll pay attention to what's going on. You know the scouting report, you know everything. If you care about your wife, you'll pay attention that, yeah, this looks about the time she's about to have her period. Yeah, she's acting this way. Oh, she came in the house, she hung up with her mom, she looks upset. What did her mom say? Like you'll just pay attention to all these things because you care, because it's your household. And my objective is always to have like a peaceful household. When it's not peaceful, then I get upset and I say, we need peace here. You're not being peaceful. Like, whatever the problem is, let's fix it so it's better. We can have some peace.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's also to what you guys are talking about too, like with the grace and just like what we tell ourselves, and the labeling and the, I don't know, the negativity or whatever. it's easy to be like, when a woman is, PMSing or whatever, not feel like to be like, oh, she's a crazy, bitch, whatever. Like all that's not helpful. Just like the old ball and chain. And like, I hate that, like my old woman or my old lady or whatever, like that whole thing too. Like not helpful. It just like puts such a negative spin on everything, right? Like, I don't know. It's not the whole like open and accepting and coming from a good place that you've been talking about, Adam. I want to take Jake has some comments. I want to see if you guys have any thoughts. Maintaining monogamy isn't a new challenge, but there are more people who don't believe in it. The normalization of non-monogamy and non-nuclear families is huge. It's now more normal to be divorced or separate for selfish reasons. It's not as damaging to your reputation, and there are plenty of singles. Any thoughts on Jake's comments?
I think that, and call me out if I'm wrong, but I feel like I've heard that statistically millennials are getting divorced less than our parents. Because I think at least for like our parents' generation, the divorce rate's like 50%. I will say I have seen a few people in our friend group, get divorced, and now they're either single or on to their second marriages. I think that the people who are like myself and like a lot of my friends, really, they came from broken homes. They came from homes where their parents were divorced, and they don't want to go through that. And of course, that's never anybody's goal when you get married, is you never think you're going to end up divorced. But I think that for a while there was kind of you can just throw it away. And, maybe that is the case with some people still, like this illusion of choice, and there's so many other fish in the sea and but I would say that among my married friends, people believe in marriage, and even the people who have been divorced, like got remarried, like have kids. Like, I think that the institution of marriage is very much still strong. And I think that, there's a lot of people in our generation who understand what it takes to make a marriage work and are willing to put in that work, because we don't want to, become a statistic, and we don't want to have a 50% divorce rate like our parents did. I think that it's, possible. And if that's what you're looking for, you can find it out there for sure. I think there's a lot more traditional men and even women, who want to be traditional in the sense of like, they want the marriage, they want the kids, and like, they want the man to be the breadwinner. Like, I very much think that exists still. You just have to be looking for it in the right places.
Yeah, I completely agree. And some of this is online messaging, right? It's very easy to find some TikTok video of some woman who's like, I got divorced and now I can date the field and blah, 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 blah. It's very easy to find that. But that's not the situation with most people who get divorced. And especially when you see the statistic of women divorce men, divorces are done. It was 80% of the time initiated by women, right? And as an indictment on women, they're the ones who are running away from these relationships. But no divorce happens after the first argument, right? So like, well, what led up to that? Because what that actually indicates is that women are more willing to leave a bad relationship than men are. And I understand why, because we just talked about it. The guys are like, listen, it is tough out there. I'm gonna stay in this as long as I possibly can. I'm gonna try and make it work and blah, blah, blah. Like one thing I've learned, if very few times, she just doesn't care. But like, if a woman's in a relationship and she cheats, she is done. She's not anything else. She is done. It's different than some guys. The guy, he's out and he's whatever, and he gets drunk or something. Like he makes a mistake or whatever. You buy the excuse, and that's fine. But for women, when they do it, they're done. They're out of it. They're just no longer interested. And so when women get to that point of being done, they're done. And so they want to get out. They want to get out of that situation. They want to get out of that relationship. And so I hopefully I'm not ranting and raving here, but like I just see these different pieces of online messaging trying to paint a picture that all women who get a divorce are all reckless. They just want to chase their dreams and chase men and do all these other things, and believing that on the other side of the tracks is going to be better than where they're at. But I don't. Do those women exist? Sure, absolutely. But I don't think that's the case for the vast majority. I think they've had bad relationships. Adam Lane Smith has talked about this very thing, relationship counselor. And what he says is that men don't think that it's a priority until it's too late, right? She's, oh yeah, she keeps saying this thing. He doesn't think it's serious, right? Because the communication isn't there until it's too late. By then, he's like, okay, well, I'll do whatever it takes to not have this break. She's done. She's done. She's been telling you for 10 years. She's done. She's done at that point, right? So then it's too late, and then the divorce happens, and it goes up from there. So that is a common issue that happens for a lot of men, is that they don't take whatever the issue is that keeps coming up serious enough. So yeah, I mean, there are lots of these different explanations, but the narrative is that women just want to run, they want to be reckless. Do they exist? Absolutely, but there's always more than the narrative.
And the generalizations, right? That's come up already. Like, I'm also like with the generalizations, it's not all women are this way, or there are examples of it, sure, but that doesn't mean all women are like this. And to speak to, I agree with you, Adam. The couples that I know, it has been that experience where a woman has kind of been unhappy for a long time, and then when it, like, she's totally checked out. It's true. By the time like some other guy at work shows her attention when her husband hasn't been showing her attention for years, and it's, yeah, they're pretty much checked out and done at that point. I have seen several examples of that with my friends. So that's pretty spot on. Again, with tackling and addressing the narratives, you know, that are harmful, and how we need to really be aware of this, of what we're listening to, what advice we're taking on social media, on the internet. You call it, used examples of a couple people, Andrew Tate, Shira 7. Is that how you say it? I was not familiar with her until reading your article. But I hated it. The save him for what he provides, not his real name, in your phone. 2 for $20 equals free food. All men cheat, never love a man, take his money and leave. Like, this whole like, it's so toxic to have that transactional situationship kind of mindset. Like, again, how is that really ultimately fulfilling for people?
Well, and it's not, and when I see stuff like that, I don't know her personally, but that tells me this is someone who's been hurt. And so what she's done is saying, all right, before I get, I'm gonna get them. That's all that is. This guy that she was in love with cheated on her. She felt used. And so she never wants to be that hurt ever again. So she's going to presume every man is guilty. And she's going to treat him in the same way that she wished she got to treat that man that hurt her. And that's what she's doing. And now she's teaching the world how to do that, and spreading her misery to other people. Andrew Tate never had a successful long-term relationship, right? And sees women quite literally as objects. He objectifies women. He doesn't like women. And I think a lot of that stems from him not liking his own mother. He speaks very highly in a weird way about his father. But when he describes his father, his father is clearly a dirtbag. Like, this isn't someone you should be looking up to, but his father wasn't there. So what he did was, when his father did come around and he showed a bunch of bravado and treated his mother like crap, who he doesn't like anyways, he's like, yeah, that's what a real man does. And now he's teaching the world to be just like his father, to treat women like trash and use them for what you can get. And they're not to be trusted, because that's how he feels about his own mother. So this is, once again, these are miserable people. Notice every time Andrew Tate shows stuff, it's either with him or his brother. That's it, right? He's around objects, not people. Like he has no. I would venture to say he doesn't have any real deep, meaningful relationships with people. I also think he's a sociopath, but that's a different story. Um, but this is the type of person, yeah, transactional mindset. Yeah, for
Yeah,
him,
this was something I did some additional research and sort of like trends and things that are going on, sort of related to your article, and spot on, because this stuff came up as well in different research and with Psychology Today, as like an issue that's going on, with, you know, treating dates as investments,
right,
and then this whole also talks about in Substack as well, points to Disney princess syndrome, where social media fueled ideals prioritize drama over stability. So yeah, so just some other like research that was coming up in my little deep dive that was spot on with your article.
yeah, and the Disney princess syndrome is interesting because if I'm to understand it correctly, it also presumes that um, your entire relationship should feel magical 24/7. And so when it doesn't feel magical 24/7, something is wrong. It sets very high expectations. And then when that thing happens, they don't feel anything. So they think that something is wrong with you. And maybe I chose wrong, and maybe this and maybe that. And then they start chasing those endorphins that you get when you first meet someone for the first time. And they just keep chasing and chasing and chasing. I've seen stuff like that from people, and they don't recognize that we literally have chemical changes when we first meet someone, right? And that starts to dissipate over time. I think it's like around the 2 year mark, especially things are different, right? So it doesn't mean that you don't feel love for that person, but it doesn't feel like, oh, I can't sleep without talking. No, you hang up, like like you lose all that stuff, right? And that's normal, and they don't recognize that. So they keep chasing. Well, remember the first week that we started talking? Oh, we just couldn't keep our hands up. Yeah, we've been together for years now. We're not going to do that anymore because we quite literally have chemical changes happening within our body. We don't feel that particular way, and it's okay. But you can show love in a variety of ways. I tell my wife all the time, like, of course I love you. I show my love in a variety of ways that don't look in the Disney princess way, where I'm not fawning over her. I even told her, I was like, if I did that, you would hate it. Like, oh my God, you're so amazing. Or, oh, okay, all right. Like, no, I don't think any woman wants to hear that 24/7. Like, there's something wrong if a guy is acting that way. But you know what I did do? I fixed that thing that you've been wanting. I took care of that problem that you wanted to get taken care of. Like, that's how I'm showing love for you. Let me rub your feet. You know, are you okay? You good? You want to talk about it? That's how I'm showing my love for you. So like we have to have a conversation. What does real love look like? What does realistic love look like? And I think we're getting advice from people who are living in a fantasy world.
Yeah, I think it goes back to your other point of like, well, what you both, Hannah and Adam said earlier about being realistic. And that love can look like so many different things, right? There is no like one way to show love. There's many ways. And I think that that's beautiful. But yeah, just being realistic about what all that looks like. And yeah, the whole fairy tale thing and come on. We know that this stuff is, yeah.
It's not real life, especially when you have jobs and a mortgage and, bills and like day-to-day things, you clean the house, like you mentioned, Adam, you do little things and I think those things change over time. But mine, I make sure that there's dinner every night. Whether I cook every night is a question, but I make sure that there's some sort of, whether I order it or whatever, so that my husband can eat when he, is done. One of his ways is that he does the litter boxes because I can't stand doing the litter boxes. So it's like, maybe we didn't sit there across from each other and say, oh, I love this about you and I love this about you. But he emptied the litter boxes today and I cooked dinner. And that's like a realistic way that's like, hey, I love you and I'm showing up for you. It might not be glamorous, but real life isn't glamorous. It's about
Right.
who do you want to do those everyday things with? Because that's what it is. It's not that honeymoon phase is very, very short compared to a lifetime and a marriage with somebody. Like that's not what's going to sustain you. It's learning to appreciate the little things and show up for your spouse in the ways that you know they appreciate too. And yeah, that's as once you figure that out and you can appreciate those things and like really be grateful for those things, you'll be so much happier. So it's like with the dishwasher thing, it's like I can even only complain about that so much because he was doing the dishes. It's like the intent thing, Adam, like you mentioned. It's like, well, what was his intent to piss me off? No, his intent was to help and do the dishes so that I don't have to load them up. Like you have to just see the reality and see like not everything is 100% bad all the time and not everything is 100% perfect all the time, but it's real life and that's where we live. So yeah.
And I think that reframe and shift is so important because honestly, those like simple things that might seem little really are glamorous. Are they not?
They
Those
end
things
up
that might
being the
not
big
seem like a big deal, like are really can be a big deal. Like, and you know, also again, it's your perspective and how you approach life and like what you prioritize and what you think is important and see as important. So I think that that's important to consider as well.
Absolutely.
Van Braun says, Hannah, who want to do the little things?
You got to do the little things. If you're going to have a successful marriage, you got to do the little things. And you have to appreciate the little things too. So it's not going to be, I'm not getting a diamond bracelet every single week, but I might get, you know, my husband might bring me a little candy home from the store. And it's like, that's so cute. You thought of me, you know, you got the candy that I liked. And it's like, you have to appreciate those things. Because if you don't, those things can fall to the side too. And then you're like, in your moments of frustration, you just forget all about all those things. And you're like, oh, you drive me crazy like this. But it's like, no, when you take a minute and examine your whole day, like, wow, what did he actually do for me today? Like, how did he make me feel better? How did he, you know, support me? You have to look for those things. Because if you're not, then you're just going to be miserable all the time. It's like gratitude, just like, you know, a different form of it.
Mm-hmm.
Did either of you Did either of you have somebody in your life that you looked up to, where you saw that they had a healthy relationship, where they kind of like they mentored you, like somebody who you wanted? Did either of you have that in your life?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I did not.
I think I saw.
I did. My grandparents, like I always looked up to them. I always, like, they were married until the day my grandpa died, and like I always looked up to their relationship, and that was really what I wanted to have. And I can just, you know, I can see the good, the bad, the healthy things that they would do or whatever, like, you know, the everyday things or whatever. And it was just, you could just tell they loved each other, and they had, you know, since they were in their early 20s or whatever. And so, you know, I always looked up to them, and I always wanted like my relationship to be like that. And obviously it wasn't. You know, again, the military life is really hard. Being away for a year at a time, it really does some mental things to both of you. But I'm not making excuses, but that's really what it was. But you know, I always looked up to them, and I thought that was the way life was going to be for me ultimately, even though I had a weird lifestyle with the military. But yeah, I just always wonder, you know, did you just learn as you go, you know, and some do, some don't, you know. It's just, yeah. So
Yeah, for me, I saw my parents, you know, my grandparents were together up until my grandpa died. And I guess, you know, I never really thought about it like that. Like I always thought, oh, it's so cool that they're together for so long. But my parents were together until I was about 15 or 16. And, you know, not to disparage either of them. I love my father. But I didn't want that. I saw how it was very toxic. It was, you know, it kind of always the joke that we wish that they would have broken up sooner. You know, they stayed together for the kids, but that's not always best, especially when it's a toxic situation. And for me, my dad's in a wonderful marriage now with a wonderful, my stepmom is amazing. And now very much I look up to them. But I think growing up and getting into my own relationship, it was like, okay, these are kind of the things that I know that don't work and the things I don't want in my marriage. And, you know, I've kind of worked from there, and I found my husband who's wonderful. And I had some boundaries in the very beginning of like, that we're not going to speak to each other this way. I heard my parents speak to each other this way, you know, that's not going to happen for me. Or the threats of like divorce. My parents did that a lot, like, oh, I'm going to divorce you every time they had a fight. And like, that was another boundary for me. Like, I'm not going to do that. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's good. So yeah, I think I kind of worked backwards from it. But it's worked out so far. So
Yeah. Yeah. And for myself, I didn't have that. My mother never got married. She really didn't have a whole lot of relationships growing up. So, and my father wasn't, but funny enough, my father was married the entire time, just never to my mom. Um, but he wasn't around. Um, so I never had an example. So I think I learned from bad relationships, um, what I was, what I liked, what I didn't like, what I was looking for. But I also, rec- in hindsight, recognized I needed to myself as well. Because at the end of the day, those bad relationships, I accepted them. Like I accepted their red flags. I accepted all that stuff because I thought that's the best I could do. So, um, but I learned from those things. So getting together with Michelle, I knew she knows this. I knew I wanted to marry her after 3 months. Um, I was like, yep, this is it. I knew for sure, 100%. So it was just a matter of COVID happened and needed some time to save for a ring. Um, so I actually proposed to her. I'll just give a backstory. I proposed to her a year after we got together. So we got together September 2019. I proposed September 2020. We got married September 2021.
Well, yeah. So I think, and congratulations to both of you. Um, I think our backgrounds, upbringings, like what we saw, shapes us like no matter what, right? Either we
Yeah,
want what we saw or we don't want what we saw, and then sprinkle that in with like your relationship experiences along the way, and like Adam said, kind of learning from that what you want, what you don't want. Um, yeah. So I think what both of you said makes sense. Like what you saw, it affects you, it impacts you, it influences you in one way or another.
mhm.
Either, yeah, what you want or what you don't want, what you're looking for, what you're not looking for. And boundaries, I think, in general with relationships are so important and so healthy. So that's another great point, Hannah. Van Brown also added that they pressed send too early and said, I wholeheartedly agree with her. In a couple decades long relationship, I really connected with the litter box story. So just wanted to
Love it.
clear that up.
yeah,
um, yeah. So also in terms of some other like research I wanted to share related to what I found was like in terms of Reddit threads, there was some information that users on Reddit are calling dating exhausting and impossible. So that kind of goes along with the same message, Adam, that your article, that the sentiment of that. And then I have one other thing here with I think Psychology Today. Yeah, so Psychology Today's 2025 wrap up identifies gender wars as a hallmark, with a loneliness surge affecting 40% of young adults, which I thought was, right in line with your article about, people feeling lonelier despite the connection on the internet and what we should be feeling in terms of love. This rhetoric and these messages we're getting are actually making people feel more lonely.
yeah,
And Talker research found nearly 1/3 believe real love is a thing of the past, fueled by app fatigue. And then our favorite Cosmo, Hannah, were we talking about that in a previous stream? Cosmo's 2025 Google Trends Spotlight queries like, why is dating hard, reflecting widespread frustration as well. So it echoes your sentiments with this article and what you're saying, Adam.
yeah. And I some people like to fight what people say, like, oh, you don't really believe. It's like, no, I believe them. If you're telling me you're exhausted from dating, I believe you, right? That's how you feel. And so the question is, well, why do you feel that way? And I think Dating strangers would make you exhausted. I think setting up an environment where no one's accountable for how they treat you um, would be tiresome. Where people mislead you, give you fake names, and all this other stuff that you may have to deal with. Putting yourself in predicaments where that person may be dangerous. Um, you don't know. There are guys out there who go on dates with women, they get drugged and they get robbed. Like, you don't know what you're stepping into. Like, so it's a unpredictable world, starting with a question mark over every person's head that you're interacting with, because you don't know anything about them. You don't know their history, you don't know their background, you don't know their family, you don't know anything about them. And trying to fill in that gap in such a short time frame is is damn near, I don't want to say impossible, but it's incredibly difficult. It's incredibly difficult. Um, so yeah, it doesn't surprise me. And I've actually because I know that the thing to do is to crap all over Gen Z um and younger millennials, but like I don't blame them for how they feel and what they're going through. Like, things are different and they're trying to navigate it. They're facing things that older generations didn't have to face. I did the apps thing before my wife, so I understand what it's like to be on the apps, and you have to have a strategy and do all these particular things to try to have some sort of success, whatever that might look like. Um, but I get it. Like, I understand what they're going through. They have a lot of trouble, and then they have people trying to convince them that this online reality is just as a connection as in real life. And Angela, we've done now multiple streams. Is that the same as when we met at Moms for Liberty and we had a face-to-face interaction? We can see each other, and what's your energy and what do you put out and what kind of temperament do I see there, and you interacting with other people. That tells me way more
Yeah.
than anything else. So like that type of thing, is it nice to meet people online? Absolutely. You can gain like a spark, but it's not the fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's just text and photos, that's also different. Then at least we have sort of this visual, like, right, capacity. I definitely like virtual, but the in person is a whole step up for sure. Text and photos that you don't even know if they're real and what people are meaning when they're saying. There's so much that complicates things. So you've offered some solutions already. We've all been talking like things you can do. Is there anything that, if in summary, basically kind of increasing your social circle is a thing? Is there
Yes.
anything else you want to touch on in terms of, how people approach this and in terms of looking for love and keeping hope alive?
We'll never lose hope. Hope is what tethers us to life. It keeps us moving. So never lose hope. If something isn't working, if we're talking about dating or anything else, if something isn't working, ask yourself, why isn't it working, and change your strategy. Um, and continue to keep doing the same thing and hoping that there's going to be some sort of change. And maybe one day you'll luck out, but I'm looking at the odds. What are the odds it's going to get better for you? What's the best way to go? If you're someone who is marriage minded, if you're into hookup culture, don't even listen to this conversation. But like, if you're someone who is marriage minded, that's what you actually want. Why don't you be around people who are that, right? I was just with a friend of mine, and he's in his late 20s, single guy, um, who's looking, great head and his shoulder. But I was telling him, I was like, be around married people like me. Like, that's who you need to start being around. You need to hang out with us. You need to interact with more married people. Like, be around the people that you want to be. I think that stuff is important so they can get realistic advice. Because sometimes what ends up happening is if you're single, then all your friends are single, and they're all just sharing your battle stories, where everyone's losing and they still have a couple limbs and they're going back into war. Like, or you can hang out with some married people who've been there, but also encouraging you to like, man, but I really want that thing that they have there, right? It's to help to kind of keep that hope there. So definitely do that. And like you said before, increase your social circle, because it's so easy for us to just jump online and join a website and say we're part of some community. We lose the ability to actually be around people. Apps like Meetup, right? If you want to use apps, use Meetup. Are you into anime? Are you into CrossFit? What are you into? Go and meet up with other people and build your social circle. And don't be afraid to tell people you're single. Like, tell your friends that you're single. Tell your coworkers that you're single. I met my wife through my coworker. Like, tell people that you're single, and you might be surprised the responses that you get. Go out more. Go hang out more. Find excuses to go places. Be available for people to approach you or to talk to. So, I guess the summary is get off the computer. Be
Even
involved in the
not
world.
right now. Not right
Not
now.
right now.
After the show.
Right after this.
After
in
the
a
show.
couple
Yeah.
minutes. In a couple minutes.
After you share it.
Yes, also married people can recommend their single friends for you to date. No, those are great tips. I think and another one we've touched on today is being careful who you listen to and what advice you're taking, and challenge some of those narratives, some of those harmful feedback loops that are going on related to where you're getting your information from. And really question whether it's helpful to you, if it's productive or if it's harmful. Yeah, go for it.
And one other thing, I said I'm generalizing by saying be around married people. Stay away from miserable married people. Stay away from them.
Oh, yeah.
Don't listen to the guy who says happy wife, happy life, the old ball and chain. Like, stay away from that guy. Those people will lead you into complete misery. And they were like, listen, man, you sure you want to do this? I just proposed. You sure you want to go that route? You want to be like me? Like, stay away from those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good advice too. That's a really good point. Hannah J, any final thoughts? Anything to close on?
I just wanted to bring up the last line of your article, Adam. You cannot experience genuine love if you're not willing to be vulnerable. I don't think we actually got directly into that, but I totally agree. And like, I think it goes along with everything we were saying. Like, if you can be authentic and be yourself, that's someone's going to accept you for who you are, and you just have to find that person. And if you're putting up this front and you're, putting on a facade of what you want, what you think someone wants to see, or what you think someone wants to see in a partner, like, that's going to crumble eventually. You really do have to be honest and vulnerable and, true to who you are and true to yourself when you're going through the dating process. Otherwise, you're setting someone else up to date someone who doesn't exist either. Like, just, yeah, I don't know. It seems simple, but really just putting it out there and just being yourself and not being ashamed of it, and knowing that someone's going to accept that. And if they don't, then that's not your person, and that's okay. But yeah, don't ever shield part of yourself or be dishonest about who you are just for the sake of, that's what you think someone wants. Because that won't last. That's temporary.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, unfiltered pics are the new nudes, right? Seriously, like, if you can just get an unfiltered pic, I mean, you're happy. Like, it's okay to be vulnerable. That's actually attractive. Somebody that's willing to be vulnerable in front of you, and yeah, for sure. Like, Adam, sage advice about going out and doing more things with your friends or whatever. I have met way better people than I ever had on the apps and stuff like that. Just being in and around friends or whatever. Like, I just had better success with people that I met organically, and it's not easier that way, but it's the better way to do things.
Yeah, better quality.
Yeah, and it can be uncomfortable, right? But it's worth it. Like, discomfort is really the biggest opportunity for growth. I think the biggest rewards come out of it. So pushing yourself to get outside of your comfort zone, get out, do some new things. As Adam, talked about earlier, new experiences, learning new things. It's all around good. It's good for you as an individual. It's good for your relationships. So I think, guys, You're amazing. Do you guys have anything coming up this week? Anything you want to shout out where people can find you, support you, follow you? I know some of you have your handles up here.
Yeah, my handle is there. Yeah, right girl HG. I'm on X and Instagram. My X is currently privated because I'm in the process of getting a new job and they're running the background checks. So I always hide that for the background checks, but it will be open soon. So in the next few days, I think if you request to follow me now, once I unprivate, you'll automatically be following. So yeah, follow me there. I am still early with my equipment, but I'm planning to stream eventually. So tune in and I'll see you over there.
Awesome.
Yeah, for myself, I have maybe tomorrow or Thursday, I'll be putting out a trailer for somewhat short documentary that I made when I went to the GenSpec conference and the interviews I had there. So it's about an hour long. I'm still trying to figure out when I'm going to release it, maybe in the new year. But I'm going to put out the trailer very soon. So keep an eye out for that on X and my Substack, adambcoleman.substack.com. And it'll be under Wrong Speak Media. So I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/@wrong_speak.
Well, yeah, I don't have anything social media wise. I will be hunting tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. I may run a TikTok live while I'm doing that, but
That sounds fun.
why wouldn't I? But yeah, no, I'm taking the week off social media. I'll probably have some shows next week, but nothing this week.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you all so much. This was incredible. This was an exciting one. It was fun to switch it up and, not talk about politics for once. I really enjoyed it. Adam, article, loved it. Thanks for being here. And Hannah, you were the perfect addition to this group to talk about this too. And I really feel like you both really instilled hope in people and gave some really great input, advice, everyone based on your experiences. I think it was really insightful and I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thanks for having me again. I love being on.
It was perfect. And you also, I didn't even know you had a very organic story about how you met your husband too. That went hand in hand with Adam. And I didn't even know that part. So
yep, it's perfect.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. I appreciate you guys so much. Everybody, please show them all the love, follow them, support them however you can. I'll definitely talk to you guys soon. I really, really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. You guys are the best. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Good night, guys. I haven't found a quicker way to remove everyone from stage. I could probably do better at that. I'm still learning. Thank you all so much for joining the live stream today. I really, as always, really appreciate hearing your thoughts, comments, feedback, questions. Thank you for sharing some of your insights, personal stories. I really enjoy it. And it was fun for those of you who don't know, I do have a mental health background. So it's always fun for me to talk about something a little more mental health related or, personal life related, anything that, helps people in some way. And Adam wrote this amazing article. If you guys missed it, check it out. The internet is toxic to men and women looking for love, which is what inspired our conversation today. And really great stuff. So I appreciate you all being here, tuning in, being a part of the conversation. I hope you found it helpful. Obviously, relationships and love and dating is something we all, are experiencing and going through and can relate to. And so I think it's always helpful to share our experiences and stories to help each other and sort of what we're seeing, what we're finding. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And I will see you very soon. I hope you all have a great night. If you haven't already, please follow me on all the platforms. subscribe, follow, like over on YouTube, X at Angela Belcamino. Yeah, and DM me if you want to chat. And I appreciate getting to know all of you better. So I'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you guys so much. Talk soon. Have a great rest of your week.